I wasn't planning on making a video today, but I have been in this trance of consuming too much today, and so I wanted to balance the scales and create something, balance the input and the output of my experience today. So here I am doing some creative work, and this is very reflective of exactly what I want to talk about today, which is the extreme paradox of urges that I have in my experience, the simultaneous urge to go full into content creation and the internet and my digital nomad life where I'm working online and I want to build a business online and everything that I do is online so I can have location independence. But also the simultaneous urge of getting so fed up with that life that I just want to disconnect completely and then go live off grid and never look at a screen again in my life. And I've actually lived off grid before in 2020. I was very fortunate to have this experience of like 5 months living off grid in a mountain in Northern California. And during COVID, it was like perfect timing because I was so blissfully ignorant of like all of the drama and the riots and all the bad news that was coming out because there was no cell service or Wi-Fi on the mountain. And I just remember that time. It was like time was so slow and stretched out because I was so much more present. Even though like I was using a lot of substances, like I was in the cannabis capital of the world, like where it grows, and I was using a lot of substances at that time, but it still was like I was just in my world, like I was fully in my experience at that time, rather feeling like my mind is split and I'm not even like in my own head sometimes. I'm not even in my own life. I'm not even living my own life. Like that's how it feels being chronically online, right? But there's a paradox because I recognize the enormous amount of opportunity that exists by having this freedom to create something online. And I recognize that opportunity and I really want to seize that opportunity and participate. And I also really like to see other people like me just like on YouTube, and I just it's really interesting to just see how like we're really kind of all going through similar things, but like at different times and at different perspectives, but like we're all having this human condition, like collectively experiencing the same, trends of different patterns and levels, but the same trends. And so I do enjoy the that part of it, but obviously it's like so addicting that it's hard to set up boundaries to create without becoming sucked into the trance of consuming too much. And I've recently become aware of this concept of like psychic congestion, and it really resonates with me. I mean, it's very obvious, but if you think about it, it's like just like if you stuff yourself with food, like you're gonna throw up, and you're gonna feel like shit for a couple days, or longer. It's like if you just consume so much information, you become psychically congested or constipated. Like we're really meant to have a thought, have a feeling, and then take an action, right? And I don't know if it's exactly in that order, but those are like the proportionate things that should happen. But how much like input do we get now, which stirs so many thoughts, and we might be having these feelings, but we might also be numbing those feelings and not even feeling them. And then we barely take any action compared to the level of input that we're getting. And that creates such a imbalance, such brain fog, and such a haze in our experience. And we get so overwhelmed that we start dissociating and feeling disconnected from our daily life, from our emotions, from our intuition, from our bodies, most importantly. And so I just recognize that like ever since, I don't know, like 2023 is when I started pursuing like working online for real. But even in 2022, I feel like ever since then, I've just started to kind of, my brain doesn't feel as sharp. My attention span is absolutely cooked. Like I feel like lately, I've only been able to squeak out like 4 hours of work per day online. And I will try to be online doing more, but I just disconnect and like go into my trance and just consume things rather than work. So I'm still on the computer all day, but not actually working. And that's become a very big problem for me lately, because when I first started working online in 2023, I was really putting in hours every day. Um, and I was trying a lot of different things, you know, and I was like juggling a lot of different projects. I've refined it down since then, to the digital marketing field, but I was just like really working when I was on the computer. I was working hard, and I'm very proud of myself for that. And I would take pride in myself as like being, I would say, like above average self-disciplined. You know, like I've always been pretty disciplined in my life, so just to see that kind of wane over the last several years, and my attention span and my mental focus wane, is kind of scary, because if that's happened to me, like I can't even imagine like some teenagers that have literally grown up with this their whole life, or people that are not as disciplined, like how this would be affecting them right now, because it is like very scary. Like sometimes, I know this is going to sound dramatic, but sometimes I literally feel like I'm fighting for my soul. You know, I feel like it's not just that you're putting in so much stimulus into your brain, it's also just that like there's something about the frequency or the radiation of the device itself that feels very harmful, like feels very toxic. And this is something I noticed when I switched to a different phone provider, and T-Mobile, by the way, but I don't think it matters. I think it has more to do with the 5G. Like ever since like there's been more, you know, cell towers around, and like our devices have become stronger, I just feel like this kind of buzz. Like I feel something. I feel something like emitting from this device. I feel like there's something about the frequency of our actual devices that is like hypnotizing us or something. It's like doing something to our brain. And that's why I also feel like, shit, I don't want to just like be on the computer all day, every day. Like, we don't really know the long-term effects of this. And I really care about my health and well-being. And, you know, another reason I wanted to start making videos again is to train myself to have my own thoughts and speak my own words again. I mean, just because I'm speaking these words doesn't mean they're my own thoughts, but, you know, just train myself to like express myself again, because I used to just be able to like, back in like 2018 through 2020, like I got so deep into like my spiritual journey, and like I was self-isolating a lot, but it was like healing for me at that time, because I was journaling all the time. I could literally just like write for hours, and I would never run out of things to ponder and contemplate. And I really prided myself on like my level of awareness and the complexity of my thoughts, and like the, I don't know, my self-believed sophistication of my mind or something. Like I thought I was very aware. And now it's been kind of humbling to realize that like I'll sit down to write sometimes, I just feel like nothing comes to me. Like I can't even think of what to write. It's like such an effort. It's too slow for the pace of our information flow these days. Just sitting there and writing something out thought by thought in a consecutive order, word by word, like mechanically, it feels too slow, and I just don't even want to do it before I start. And so my attention span is truly cooked, and it's not a good feeling, because what is the trajectory of this trend, right? So that's why it's like, I would probably, I don't know, that's why it's like, would I just be better off like completely going off the grid and just like, you know, finding a little eco-village community and growing my own food and having some chickens and just like living a cute little homestead life? Or should I keep pushing into this digital realm where it's just like so kind of like chaotic and toxic, but also just like it's also a tool and a medium for transformation and a medium for transmutation, a reflection of myself and a reflection of other people. It's a way to connect if you're not oversaturating yourself. It's a way to learn if you're not oversaturating yourself. It's like so hard to put those boundaries, but it's like the most profound tool. You know, and I'm very pro technology, to be honest. Like I love AI, I love like the future, and I think like there's so many positive ways to use this stuff, but again, it's just like sometimes abstinence is easier than moderation. So I'm kind of stuck in this predicament right now. I don't really have like a conclusion to this, but I guess like just what I'm challenging myself to do right now is that if I'm sitting here in a trance over consuming, then I must stop everything and create to balance the scales, you know, keep the psychic energy flowing, don't get constipated and congested with information, keep it flowing and balance that out. So that's what I'm doing here now. Um, you know, maybe maybe the goal eventually is to reduce the screen time as much as possible, don't disconnect completely, and then take myself into a very natural environment, you know, because right now I'm not like living an off-grid homestead life, but I feel like an alternative version of me is like totally, you know, has the urge to do that. And there's really a trend now where like all of these little communities are popping up because also just like the uncertainty of our world, you know, like people, I think it's very important for humans to come back to like our primal resourcefulness and, you know, relying on each other in communities and villages and building sustainable communities. Like I'm really all for that. That's kind of like a counter trend against the technology. And you know, the paradox is like I love both worlds actually. Like I get so much excitement and stimulation from the virtual world, but it's like that that simplicity of life and like living in communities, it just feels like so much more fulfilling and just so much better for like my health and like everybody's health and well-being. And so it's like I want to have both, you know, I want to have both, but the challenge is maintaining those boundaries in an environment where like the odds are so stacked against you and like manipulating your own psychology. So that's my rant for the day. Yeah, let me know if you relate. Do you feel like you want to just go off grid and, you know, disconnect from the world? Not disconnect from the world, but from like, you know, the modern world. Yeah, let me know what you think. Yeah. Peace.